Today, I'm talking to Matthew Ferrara, who started as a real estate agent and now is speaking to and inspiring real estate agents all over the world. He inspires agents to think outside the box, see and harness their unique value to innovate, initiate, and rise above the competition. Thanks for listening to the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top real estate agents tell how they do it. This podcast is to share knowledge for realtors and raise awareness for Give Back Homes, where real estate professionals work together for social good. Jet Centers Aviation, Bentley Atlanta, Legends Global, thank you for your sponsorship. All right, everybody, we are talking to Matthew Ferrara today, better known or well known as Philosopher Ferrara. He has been speaking to real estate agents for how many years? Is it been 25 years now, Matthew?
Yeah, just about 25 years now.
And tell us, just give us the rundown of your career and how you got into this, because we're interviewing today. You've made a special impact on my business. And shortly after just listening to you speak, I did some really outside the box things that got me named best real estate agent in Atlanta. Voted best real estate agent in Atlanta because and it literally catapulted my business into the luxury real estate industry. So I'm really excited to hear what you've got to say just about how you've done that for so many people.
Sure, absolutely. Well, it's nice to be talking with you here today. So let's see, 25 years ago or so, I actually was not in the real estate industry. I was going back to school to get a degree, finish up a degree. I have a degree in philosophy and a degree in economics. And the lady sitting next to me was a real estate broker. And we just got to be talking. And she said, "Hey, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, actually, I'm doing a little radio. I was doing talk radio at the time, which was, certainly not enough money to pay the bills." And she said, "I think you'd be great in real estate." And so I got into the real estate business with her and quickly discovered really that my forte was in helping her and others in my office just run their businesses better. When I got in the real estate business, because I was so young, I didn't know you weren't supposed to go to all the classes, so that's what I did. I went to all the classes, GRI, CE, new agent training, etc. And suddenly in addition to just experience, was really full of a lot of good knowledge. And I've always been sort of a teacher, I guess, and was teaching at the board. And that's really how I got into this. My broker kind of gave me a push, and she said, "Listen, I think you're really good at this. I think people would benefit from you helping them be better. And you could do that on a great scale." And that's how I started then doing some consulting and eventually teaching throughout New England. And by 1999, I taught in 49 states and 6 or 7 cities across Canada. And today I've now taught in 16 countries around the world, as far away as China, Australia, New Zealand, South America, all across North America, of course. And in addition of sharing some good ideas, I've also learned a lot about how real estate works globally and how it works locally, because I've been in your city, I don't know, wow, 3 dozen times in the past 25 years. So. Wow.
Well, that's why I'm so excited to have you today to hear about so much insight you have. Usually I'm interviewing real estate agents and we're talking about, specific successful real estate agents and what made you successful. And you've seen so many, not just here, not just nationally, but internationally, and what makes them successful. And before we tap into that, I want to know what you dabbled in real estate for a minute, and then you still speak to companies other than real estate brokers or the real estate industry. What is it about real estate that drew you into speaking to real estate agents into the real estate industry in general? Was there anything specific, or is it just what was in front of you at the time and it took off?
Well, I think it was, partially, yes. I was in that business, and that was sort of seeing the opportunity in front of me. But in a sense, what keeps me speaking to real estate professionals, because I would say a good 3/4 of my business is still in the real estate world, and the rest is in anything sales and leadership and marketing, I guess. But But why I love speaking to real estate so much, still as much today as in the early days, is because this is an industry that is by and large a self-made industry. The vast majority of people who get in this business start at the exact same point, which is zero. And the successful ones and the people on their way to being successful are so exhilarating to watch. It's so thrilling to see the different ways they're successful, because there isn't just one pattern. And even to this day, when clients will say, well, you please do our keynote, but if you don't want to stay for the award ceremony or the dinner or something like that, you're free to go. And I said, no, I want to be there, because there is nothing more exciting in my mind, and this is just sort of the American capitalist spirit that I have, than watching people who every day wake up. They don't have a job every day, right? They wake up every day. They got to recreate their fundamental value proposition and grow where they've already had successes and enter into new markets and try new things. This is one of the most entrepreneurial businesses, and it's for me, so exciting to watch people from any walk of life, any perspective create success. So I think it's really one of the most dynamic businesses to be in.
Well, I could agree with you more. And you said something about creating your value and creating your value proposition to people. I think so much of our industry and so many speakers are about how many cold calls you make, how many phone calls you make, how many expired calls you make, how many times you ask for a referral, and there's no value in that except that we're chasing people. And you don't even bring that up, and that's unusual. And you may not even know that, because you're coming from your paradigm that you're in that's so powerful to everyone else for so long. But really coming from an entirely different place of, it's not about who makes the most phone calls and who chases the most people and who's the most aggressive in that way. But who really finds their value and knows it and knows how to present that value to our potential customers and our customers.
Yes, I actually think my starting place is different than many other people in this business. And can you make money making X cold calls and generating X thousands of leads and, playing the numbers game? Of course you can. Absolutely. But making money is easy, and doing something really good with your career, I think that's the hard part. And so I actually work from a completely reversed philosophy. I believe in sort of a magnetic approach to building your business. You're contributing through your work something so compelling that people want to refer you, want to work with you again, want to see you successful. They're going out of their way to help you find the customers you need. They're going out of their way to, make sure that their friends and family know all about you. So I actually flip it around. And a lot of people say, well, how can you do that if you're new? And the truth is that your value proposition actually starts before the transaction. Many people in real estate mistake the transaction for doing real estate. But what we do in this business is we fulfill people's, needs and wants and their dreams. And we do that with a commodity known as real estate housing. But you can have a value proposition even if you don't have any inventory yet. And that, I think, is what, kind of makes my approach a little different. And it also takes a lot of confusion off of the real estate professionals' mind in terms of what does it mean to be successful. I mean, you have to do certain activities, obviously, to be successful, but it's not about a volume game. In fact, just for a funny point of reference, I always laugh. I log into, Facebook or something, and I see these ads that say, learn how to generate 53 qualified leads a day. And I say to myself, what would 53 leads a day do to you? You would explode. You couldn't possibly deliver an amazing experience. You couldn't even follow up with 53. Like in a sense, is almost like a sort of absurd layer of real estate. And the greatest real estate professionals I work with, they're so dialed away from that. And it doesn't mean they don't do a lot of transactions. It just means they're so much more into the quality of experience than the quantity of experience.
Well, you remind me of we get as real estate agents lots of telemarketers, and I'll never forget one day I got a phone call, and it was, what if there was a Google search that if anybody put anything related to real estate, your name was the first name and phone number that came up, and everybody called you first. And I said, it would be a disservice to my clients, because you have no idea how much business is really out there. There's so much business out there. You've got to focus on who you can help, who you want to help, and who you help best. And you don't want everybody, because some people aren't a fit. They're not a match to work with you, and they'll make your life miserable. So making sure you're presenting the value that you can deliver. It's exactly what you said all over again. So on that,
go ahead. The challenge, I was just going to say, part of the challenge with that is that I actually think we've been a little bit led astray. And what I mean by that is, as long as I've been in this business, and it is true, there has been pressure on compensation. There's a lot of downward pressure on compensation. And I think a lot of salespeople have been led to believe that they can't fight against that instead they have to accept getting paid less but do more transactions. And I actually don't believe in that at all. I mean, I'm just like a real estate professional. I can only do so many deals a year. And so I can only do so many seminars a year. Otherwise, I start to become physically exhausted, technically incompetent, and not delivering the best experience, missing little details, etc. And the same is true for the real estate agent. If anything, real estate is so much more difficult than ever before that we should literally it should be flipped over. We should be being compensated more for the level of outcome that we create. And it's not about whether we double the units, it's whether we double the experience, whether we double the value of the experience. And it's not just about being paid reasonably, it's about the issue of what makes for a good career in real estate, because ultimately it comes down to the fact that this isn't just work, it's so integrated with our lives that you have to be able to deliver a great experience, not just for your clients, but for you. You have to get up every day with maximum energy to do this kind of work. And so in a way, I do think it's kind of funny how the marketing world or the advertising world is trying to convince the real estate industry that the route to success is volume, when I believe the route to success is value.
Exactly. It could be better said. And if I find that the volume brokers, and not to pick on our industry too much, but the volume brokers often it's an assembly line approach, which there's definitely some value in systems and what we do. But on the flip side of that is that when we focus on how well we deliver business, those are the agents that are really living a better lifestyle and are seeing the better profit margins in what we do. When you do look at that as a business. So that's... And their clients say to them, you know what? Do your thing. I trust you. Exactly.
Just do your thing. That's the most wonderful business relationship to have. When someone calls me up and says, Matt, we want to invite you to do a keynote for us. And I said, what do you want to talk about? And they go, just do your thing. We trust you to do the right thing for us and create the right outcomes. And I think when you're in the reverse area, when everything starts with, well, what am I getting for the price? And they're micromanaging everything, nobody can do a good job and nobody can be satisfied.
Exactly.
So, I think it's the same pattern.
You're exactly right. But it's important to keep that approach, because so much of our training is backwards. So much of our training is on laying out the value and pushing the customer and the listing presentation and how many sales you've done and the characters pulled out of it. And even our other realtors, where we see how successful they are. And even as real estate agents, we see it as a competition. And a few years back, I thought, it's not a competition. It's an inspiration. And when I see somebody else that's successful, don't see it as a threat. It's not a threat. It's not competition. That's an example of, hey, if you could do it, I can. And just
that's a great point, because the market is so big. I don't know anybody in any market anywhere in the world that has so much market share that people have to grow by taking that person's market share. The truth is that right now, any city in America, any city in Canada, any city in France, where I just came back from teaching, there are going to be people who aren't being served by anybody. So we don't have to worry about the competition. We have to worry about implementing our plan really well in a way that we can sustain and be delighted ourselves and delight the clients. And you're right, when you see other people successful, those should be the people that we want to cheer for and congratulate. Every marketplace is so gigantic, way more gigantic than the sum total of the, quote, market share that anybody has, that there's tons of room for growth for everybody, just astronomical growth for everybody.
Exactly. And we could go on a long time about this, because there's room for growth. There are so many different kinds of agents. There's so many ways for us to work together. When you're specific in what you do and how you do it, which I am very specific, I give more business to I give as much business to other real estate agents as I take on, because someone comes to me because they trust me, but I don't know anything about that part of town or that type of property. And I either bring someone in or refer it out, because it's such a great industry and one in which we can do that. On that, one of my questions for you, we've kind of touched on that, but I'd still would love to know, because you see so many different kinds of real estate agents, what is it that you see when you see agents all over the world? What you've got people who feel like this is such a competitive industry, and then you've got agents that just stand out and they magnetize the business. What are some specific examples you've seen of how that's worked for real estate agents and what they've specifically done?
Sure. So I would answer that by just giving a tiny background, which is to say the best agents that I have seen and had a chance to just work with are the ones who are very clear about what their purpose is with their work. So they have a really good written business plan that not only lays out volume, dollars, units, things like that, but it lays out sort of their vision and says, this is what I plan to do through my work. And we have to remember that every sale changes a neighborhood. Every sale changes one or more lives. And so, we're not just selling a product that's disconnected from the places that we live and the cities that we build, and those cities are our states and part of our country. So the best agents that I know always come from this perspective of a really good vision, that what I'm doing today is so important. It's going to affect people's lives. It's going to affect my community. It's going to affect my state and my nation. That it really changes how they compete. They are so selective about their clients. They're so selective about the kind of work that they're asked to do that it allows them to only deliver great results. So all of that comes from really having this sort of clear business vision and clear business strategy before they begin. Now, having said that, the thing that most of the agents that I see who really stand out benefit from is this really wonderful unique trait or unique quality that allows them to never get trapped into a commodity conversation. So the best agents around the world do something so good. They're either just really spot on with the quality of marketing that they do, or they're really spot on with their ability to, solve difficult financial situations. This was, of course, over the last decade, such a big deal. Agents who were just good with unraveling complex transactions because people were underwater or undercapitalized or didn't have a lot of down payment. So they figure out what they're really awesome at, and then they totally lean on that trait or skill, that unique element. In my seminars, we kind of call it their yellow pants. It's the thing that makes them stand out while everyone else is walking around in colorless pants. And now when they're in conversations, they start, whether it's a listing conversation with the buyer, they start with sort of all the givens. They're like, look, it's a given that everybody in this marketplace will do A, B, C, D, and E, but I'm going to offer you also L, M, N, O, and P, or even just L and M. And those are the things that I hope you'll choose me on. Those are the things that are not just above and beyond. Those are the things that are just unique. I don't think you'll necessarily get them anywhere else. And that's why I think you will enjoy the experience with me. It's my communication skill, or, it's even my sense of humor. I mean, when I worked with agents before, I remember when we sold our house on the East Coast before moving to Las Vegas, I remember the most wonderful trait about my agent was her sense of calm she practiced yoga a lot. And what I loved about her was that when things seemed to be flying around in a tempest, she was so calm and rooted, and it's exactly what we needed. And everything else, I never asked her, do you use electronic forms? Do you use this kind of tool? I never asked those questions. I just said, when everything starts going haywire, Amy, what are you going to do? And she said, I'm going to call you and put your mind at ease. And I was like, done, paid
that's
for,
what I need.
Charge me anything, because that's what I need. I needed that as a client. And the same thing is true for all of us. There's something we deliver that's above and beyond the systems and tools that is unique, and that's what makes it compelling to work with that person. And it's true in all the professions.
Oh, and that's why there's still
stand out.
Yeah, well, you've got Zillow.com or these Zillow and real estate agents are teaming up now, because Zillow can't do it without us, and we could do it without Zillow. But Zillow's figured out how to become a resourceful tool to real estate agents, despite the perspective that Zillow's the enemy. It's not. But yeah, just like you said, even with doctors and accountants and.
Well, it's funny because, when you think about all of the different things that we buy on the differential. Or, as my friend, I have a really good friend, he's also a wonderful trainer, former broker in this business, Dan Elzer. He calls it a winning difference, and I love that phrase. I think that when we think about what is the decision maker, if I'm buying an automobile, well, they all have 99% similar things, but maybe for one of them it's the design. Maybe for one of them it's, the acceleration or the safety or whatever. And think about companies that have made a major difference in any industry, and they only sell into their superior strength. We love to tease Apple because everyone likes to use Apple as a great example in the technology world. But I kind of laugh, right? Because when you think about the iPhone, it actually does a lot of things really poor. It has poor battery life. It doesn't sound that good when you're talking on it. The keyboard is terrible to type on. But what did Apple do? Said, you know what? We're going to just make operating the phone and the software as easy as possible, And so they just basically sold on that strength. Right?
It overrides everything else. Exactly.
That overrides everything
That's a great
else.
example. And everybody has the perception that they're flawless, but if you sit down and think about it, they're anything but.
Well, think about this, Jerry. If you mismatch on the value proposition, then nothing else can carry the day. Like if you're talking to a client and thinking what they want is my commodity items, then but what they really want something else, you can never satisfy them.
And on that, the listing presentation, we have to be so careful with that. We are trained on this listing presentation, and to go in and to give the big talk and pony show and go through the 50 pages of did we ever bother to find out what they really want to know? Because often those we oversell or unsell ourselves with those. But what were you going to say?
Well, no, you're absolutely right. This is why I like to call it a listening presentation.
Perfect. Love
Not
it.
A listing presentation.
Perfect.
So
I'm using that. I love that.
Yeah,
I haven't heard you say that one yet. How did I miss that? That's the best thing I've heard.
Go in and say, why wouldn't we go in and say, listen, before I begin, I need to listen. I need to know a little more than what we talked on the phone or a little more from the email conversation we had. I need to hear it from your own voice. And of course, we're also as salespeople. I need to see how you're physically acting, your emotions. I need to hear it. And I need to ask about 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 questions before I can truly know what's important to you. And then I can tell you how I'll satisfy those needs. Will we find you a house? Sure. Will we sell your house? Of course. Are the ordinary things like time and price and convenience? Sure. All those things are normal. But what's really important? Again, I go back to myself. When I sold, I needed a sense of calm determination. That's what I needed. That's what I was really buying. Not the fact that, my agent had a great record of list to sell ratio and days on market. I expected those things.
Exactly.
But that's how we do ourselves, as you just said, a disservice, because we go in and say, let me talk to you as fast as possible, saying everything I could possibly say, hoping that one of them will stick and you'll pick me. And it's like,
and the more you say, the less they hear. That's the problem.
Yeah. Because they tune out. It's like that guy at the end of the commercial who has to get all the little, disclaimer stuff in.
Right.
As opposed to saying, tell me everything I need to know to delight you, and then I will delight you.
Exactly. And something I heard a powerful real estate agent say one time was, if you just listen, they'll tell you exactly what they need from you. Just listen. And it's just no so trick. True. Just listen.
There's no trick, and that's the unfortunate part about when we focus on systems and tools. We need systems and tools. There's no question around that. But when we believe, or we accidentally substitute value for systems and tools, we have put ourselves in a dangerous position, because there will always be faster, newer, or cheaper systems and tools that will do nothing but drive down our ability to invest and earn a great outcome. And this is something I often point out, which is, we don't earn the commission as a fee. We invest the vast majority of that fee into creating the outcomes that they want.
Exactly.
So it's not like our commission is everything goes in our pocket. Ha ha. It's Mr. and Mrs. Smith, in order to get the greatest outcome for you and deliver on this, which you just told me is so important to you, then I need to invest this. So basically, I need to be your investment advisor of a portion of your fee, which is really what it is, into creating the outcome that you want. And it's no different than anywhere else. I could buy the entry-level hotel room, or I could buy the upgraded concierge floor hotel room. They will both get the job done, but I choose the upgraded concierge level hotel room. I invest more in the experience I want to have on my holiday. That's just different than when someone goes to market with the cheapest, fastest, mostest, and they do everybody a disservice.
Exactly. Well said. So let's give some examples of what are we've tapped on this a little bit, but you have some good examples for us that we may be unconscious of, or that lack self-awareness, and what are the biggest mistakes that real estate agents make that you see?
Well, I'll give you a couple of examples just from around the world. One of the greatest, most fun places I've ever learned and taught real estate was in Australia. And what I love about the sort of the best salespeople I worked with there is their willingness to get super personal with their marketing. And so there are some really wonderful agent videos out there that are not about how many deals they did and how fast their car is and all of that, but just tell the story. I grew up in this neighborhood. I love this place. My dad always told me, I can make a difference in people's lives, and I'd love to make a difference in yours. So, I see a lot of that, not just in Australian real estate advertising, but in some of the areas, especially in the luxury space, where people are focused on lifestyle outcome. I also see a lot of people referencing traits that have nothing necessarily to do with the transaction. So I have a great client named Tina in Vancouver, and she talks about how she used to play concert piano, and how her love of music and her ability and need to focus while playing piano has translated in her ability to stay focused on the right outcomes and see opportunities in the real estate transaction. Or a lady that I know just outside of Oakland, in the Oakland area in California, where she talks about tennis, and she talks about how hard it is to play tennis and the effort it takes to be good at it.
That's a great video. I remember that.
Yeah, remember that video, and how that determination.
Who thought that could be compelling? I mean, honestly, when I listened to it, but I saw the video and it was like, wow, I like her. I want to work with her.
Yeah.
So that I guess that goes.
She's normal.
Yeah, and that goes back to the mistake would be then not doing that, hiding who we. I think what you're trying to say is the biggest mistakes we make is not showing who we are, and forgetting. So many of us think, oh, this is just a transactional business. How many deals can I do? How many calls can I make? And not focusing on they're hiring us because we're people and we're and who we are and what we can do to help them.
Well, that's our ace in the hole, right? Our ace in the hole is who we are.
Well, we forget that.
And who we are is all that extra fill in the blank. It's our ability to connect with people. And we do forget that. And we do ourselves, again, a disservice when we show up only as a resume. And we forget to bring all the other wonderful parts of us to the transaction, to the value proposition. Mm-hmm.
So, on who we are, here's a question I'm really looking forward to hearing your answer to, being someone that's so familiar with so many real estate agents around the world. Does the company or broker that you work with matter? And why and how important is it?
I think it matters hugely. And the reason that I say that is, first of all, even before you go to marketing, it matters that you feel like you're in the place that synchronizes with you, that the values are the same, that the ethics are the same, that you have the same vision. I have seen a lot of agents struggle because they're just mismatched with the brand that they're with, or with the leadership that they're with. Sometimes it's even a disconnect that the leader doesn't necessarily have the same goals and outcomes as the sales team or the management team or even the support team. So I personally think the company you're with matters, but it matters the most, in a sense, to the salesperson, because it's the environment in which they're able to optimally perform. So the truth is that there are many brands, many companies that have very different value propositions, but as long as the sales team within that brand is really in sync with those, I think they can create good outcomes of different kinds. It's up to the customer to ask of themselves, what value am I looking for? And again, it's like saying it's perfectly fine if you love to buy a Honda motor car, if that fits your value set, but someone else prefers to buy a Maserati or something, as long as it fits their value set. The problem becomes when, the Honda buyer is buying in the wrong lot, or the car salesperson is trying to represent their car as something it's not. And so, and it's not just an automobile, it's across the board. Some people love to fly Southwest. It doesn't work for me. I prefer to fly United. Different experiences. We both get there, probably both on time, different price points. So when I think about the brand question and whether it matters what company you're at, it truly matters to your ability to optimally perform. You have to surround yourself with like-minded people, with similar vision, with similar values and ethics. And then from that space, you're basically now created your launch pad, and then the rest is really up to you.
That's great. That's well said. And I often in listing appointments remind people that the broker is who works for me, and I picked the broker with them, or I selected the broker with my clients in mind and what I could do for them.
Exactly. It's a great way of putting it, that you've selected the broker who best backs you up in delivering the outcomes that you want for your client. It's a wonderful way to think about why you're with the company you're with.
I think so many people, there's two schools of thought while we're on this. So many people talk about, it's me, it's not the broker, people are hiring me. Well, the broker is the resources and the tools that you have through my broker. I have the broker I have because of the resources that I have, that they empower me to deliver to my client. And on the same note, often real estate agents come to appointments with the templated listing presentation, you know how I feel about those, from the broker, and forget who they are. And it's they're hiring me, and my company is not who they're hiring. However, it is a huge resource and tool in what I can provide to my customer, and putting all of that into perspective. And it was so well put in what you said.
Well, I just would say this. If you think about other major decisions in our lives, so I'll just give you an example. If you're having surgery, so your doctor, all of their skills and experience and their bedside manner and all the other cool things about them as a person, they're a primary part of the equation. But the hospital in which they operate is also a primary part of the equation. I've actually changed doctors but stayed in the same hospital, or I've followed my doctor as he's gone to a hospital that I thought would better support the way he likes to help me remain healthy. So it's really an equal equation, and I think we have to learn how to communicate both halves of that equation to the client. And obviously it reinforces each other. The brokerage supports you, but you lean on them to deliver the outcome that the client wants. Really, everybody wins if it's a good match.
So here's something that I really want to ask you before we run out of time. You are a philosopher. You've got a degree in philosophy. You think differently. You've got the yellow pants on when it comes to someone that speaks to realtors and coaches realtors and trains realtors. So everything you say is an aha for most people. It's just, you flip everything. And in saying that, what is your biggest aha? There's two ways of asking this. I could say, what is your biggest aha in the business, or what is your most recent aha in the business?
I think my biggest aha, I know this is going to sound really odd, but my biggest aha is that in this business, there are people with so many different goals that until I realized that people had different goals with their career, I don't think I was as effective as I could be for everybody that I speak to. So I think it's sometimes you read a news article or you listen to a speaker or something, and it sounds like, well, doesn't everybody want to be doing 300 transactions a year? And,
or 52 leads a day.
Yeah, right. Like there's only one picture of success. And when I had an awesome aha moment, which was really about 10 or 12 years ago, halfway through speaking, and someone said to me, listen, man, I really loved what you said today, but honestly, I only want to do 10 deals a year. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. And I said, and then I made a mistake. And this was a great learning moment for me. I said, oh, wait, but don't you want to be a top producer? And he said, to me, that is a top producer. And I went, bing, like a light bulb went off in my head. And I went, wow, like this is why I think when we evaluate agent performance, it's not always about who did the most deals last year or the highest price deals last year or whatever it is. Like, there's so much more to the equation of great outcomes. I don't necessarily want the attorney who did the most number of cases last year. I might want the least number of highly successful cases. Like there's so many factors to what it means to be successful in this business that I think when I'm talking to real estate agents, what I encourage them to do is to pursue their success, their vision of great outcomes and optimal performance. So that to me was a big aha. Well, and it gives people permission. It gives people permission to pursue the success that works for them.
And to take a minute and decide. There's so much in our industry. There's so much spotlighting on who sold the most, who ranked number one, who did the best, where they were ranked. And we are almost told that's what we want. I mean, even what the intention is almost irrelevant. But as a realtor, you suddenly think, oh, well, that must be what I want. And stop for a minute and think about, what do you really want? Why did you really get into this? Slow down for a minute. Think about what your purpose is. What do you like about this because at the statistics, like 90% of us don't make it through the first two years of business.
Right. Well, it's funny that you say that because I had to do that myself in the business of working with this business. In other words, in 1999, I did over 100 seminars a year. And this year I'll do 45. And people say, oh my gosh, you're slowing down. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm not only doing better, whatever financially or this or that. I'm doing better on a different metric, which is this. In 1999, 100 audiences a year clapped politely and maybe implemented a little bit of what I said. In this year, 2016, I did 45 events where I met with a lot of people that I've worked with last year as well. And the first thing they did was walk up to me and say, hey, last year when you told us to do this, I did it. And I said, I know, because I'm just about to celebrate that on stage because I've been watching you. So my goal is to make an impact, right? To make a change. So just a quick story. I was in Paris last week teaching, and in the front row was someone just jumping up and down, waiting to talk to me when I was done. And he said, listen, last year you told me to do this with my marketing. Could I please show you what we did? And he had made the most wonderful video. And he was so proud of it and so excited by it. And I'm just standing there going, this is what I do.
That's what you did for me.
Speaking,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. When we celebrated your videos on stage, it wasn't just about, which it was, showing some awesome work, which it was great work.
Thank you.
It was really me kind of bragging, right? It was me saying, look, what I do on stage is try to make an impact that lasts.
I wish you could see me right now with the biggest smile, because it's just so true.
And I believe it, and I really do. And that to me is a different story of success. If you could do that, doing 100 deals a year, all the power to you. But I discovered that better work meant a different kind of work. And to be honest, I mean, and not to be immodest, it's fine. I make a great living, as good a living as I would on volume, but I actually feel as if I make a greater impact as I do on the quality experience. Honestly,
Go ahead.
If my phone rings, I don't, people worry so much about how much they have to market, but if you help people change their lives for the better, your phone rings by itself. Next year, I'm already booked for 17 events, and I don't send out marketing pieces. I don't call and ask, "Are you having an event where I could be your keynote speaker?" I leave a lasting impression. They're a little better than when than before I was there.
Exactly.
And when the time comes, they just remember to call me again. It's okay. You can do that.
Exactly. I love that. So here's what I'd love to talk about a little bit as we close out on this. What you've done, a few things. The biggest one is your photography. So you've had a camera in high school, and you picked a camera back up, I think it was 5 years ago, in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And you have been going around the world taking pictures, and I've seen them online, and they are unbelievable. So tell us a little bit about that and how you're incorporating that into your speaking and what you're doing and what you're up to.
Well, my photography was almost a way to sort of rescue me from quitting the business.
Because you almost quit how many years ago?
Yeah, like 5-6 years ago.
Right.
I was on the edge of saying, what am I going to do? Just do more deals, lower my price, say the same thing
real
everyone
estate
else
agent's
is
question.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
Same real estate agent question, right? So I had a great mentor, and today he's still my mentor, and he called me up and he said, well, if all you're doing is what everyone else is doing, then you should quit now, because you're probably at the top of your pay scale, in fact.
Oh, wow.
And, younger, prettier, faster, it's all going to come along, and it'll change for you. And I said, well, thank you, I think, for that. And what he really was pushing me to ask is, what do I add that others can't add? And it turns out that by reconnecting with my photography, I not only get to go to great places to speak, but as you said earlier in our conversation, I kind of show people things a little differently than they were originally seeing them.
Exactly.
Well, that's what photographers do. What a photographer does isn't point out what everyone else sees. We point out what everyone else missed. And so it was just such a natural connection. Again, like a little light bulb went off that said, hey, go to these amazing places, do what you do with the camera, and take those images and weave those stories and those moments and those perspectives into your seminar work. And what happened was, of course, I not only created a whole new layer that no one else can copy. Even if other people use photos in their seminars, they're not my photos or my stories. So I'm super unique in this space, which has helped me create from uniqueness new opportunities, new people interested in talking to me and having me talk to their groups. But also, it means that, honestly, every time I get on stage, I am so excited just to show my latest photos. It's almost like, thanks for hiring me to speak, but I would have come on here anyways if you just asked me to show you my photos and talk about an unlimited source of energy, right?
Yeah.
Unlimited source of energy. So my photography is just been a way for me to re-energize my career, but also to make it unique. And I also have been so blessed to be able to use my photographs for charity purposes. Last year, 6 of my photographs went to auction. They went to auction around the world. all the money was donated to women's shelters or homeless shelters or community food banks. And, so it even went beyond what I would have imagined its ability to just help me grow my career. It turned into an ability for me to even give back to the greater, societies in which I work, which for me is actually global. So it's been so exciting.
Wow, that's amazing. And what something I want to know, what is one big thing you've learned in traveling around the world over the last 25 years?
Is that the world is a really, really tiny place. And that, when I am teaching in Australia or Italy or Costa Rica or Toronto or Atlanta, people have really much the same concerns, hopes, dreams. Their perspectives are obviously different. Their cultures are different. But whether I'm talking to a cab driver in France who is excited about where his career is going, or I'm talking to a senior executive in California who's talking about a new innovation, or I'm just talking to people in a restaurant in a train station in London last week, there really is more that makes us similar than divides us. And once I kind of learned that, I felt as if in a very small way, everywhere I went was really just like home in a lot of ways. And that has allowed me to be much more open to learning about people and learning from people, as well as sharing a little bit with them. Which gives you the world is tiny. It's just so tiny. And it's astonishing when you discover that.
Wow. And it gives you so much to share us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah. And so there's been so much to take away from this, as far as looking at things differently, making your own definition of success, realizing your own talents, realizing that real estate agent isn't cold calls, it's not chasing business, but it's magnetizing business. In all of that and so much more that you've said, what is the one thing that you would want our listeners to take home with them or to remember from this interview?
I guess what I would ask them to do is what I do all the time, which is take another look. Look at your career and ask yourself, what else are you doing with this career? What is the rest of the story? And when you discover that, start telling that, because it will be such an amazing asset for you. It will make you so energized to want to do the work, the prospecting, et cetera. But I'm not prospecting to get a deal. I'm prospecting to help people improve their lives. I'm not doing the right thing in a transaction because, the code of ethics tells me to do it. I'm doing it because it's the only way to work. Once you start asking yourself what the rest of the picture is, sort of zoom out on your career a little bit and just say, what is the whole picture of the work I'm going to dedicate myself to do every single day? It just changes everything for you. It changes your attitude, and people will pick up on that, and they will say, this is the person that I want to work with.
Wow,
this
thank
is the
you.
person that matters.
It's so true. The more authentic I get in what I do, sometimes I think something's wrong with me because I don't pursue business anymore. It just keeps coming to me, because it's exactly what you said. It's so true. And it gives us so much purpose in what they do and what we do. Matthew, thank you so much for the interview with us. Thank you for everything. This has been absolutely fun. And as always with you, just a real eye opener to making sure we keep things in perspective and look at them from every angle.